Hello.
Hey, Chris, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Well, first, let me just say it's really cool to actually talk to you. I've been a big fan for a number of years now.
Oh, thank you.
And I was just curious about, to start off with, just how things are in general are going.
Really great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's good. And have you already started touring?
Yeah, I've actually been touring a lot. I've started touring maybe a month before my record came out.
Right. I know you did the club tour.
Yeah, and I haven't stopped.
Yeah.
I've already been to Europe and back at least twice.
Okay, so you've been out of the country for a little while then.
Yeah. I just came back and then starting another U.S. leg and then going back to another European leg and then, same thing.
Okay. And what part of the... is there anybody from the touring band that was on the album?
No, nobody.
Okay. And how do you go about going yourself? How do you go about getting together guys to play with when you've kind of been in established bands for most of your life?
The same way everybody does. Like, you think about people that you like and what they do. When it came to making the record, it was a little combination of that and working with people that Steve Lillywhite thought might be good.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it came to actually putting together a band to tour with, I initially started with who was playing on the record, but immediately sort of realized that wasn't necessarily going to work musically because I was planning already to incorporate songs from my entire history of recording.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of added and subtracted to that and wasn't really happy, so I started from scratch, and then I did just kind of like an not open, but somewhat open audition process where I just sat in a room and played with a lot of different people, which I'd never done before.
Mm-hmm.
And it ended up being kind of an interesting thing, just to see how songs change as different people kind of come and go and playing the same songs. I think I did the same 4 songs or 5 songs over and over and over again with all these different people, and it was interesting. And most interestingly to me was the group that I have with me now. When it was them, I sang the songs better. I would actually sing better depending on who was there. And I don't know why that is. It doesn't make any sense to me, but it's the truth. I sang better with different combinations of people, the same songs. And that kind of was part of it, and part of it was also, solo, not solo. When you're on a stage and you're on the road and traveling around the world with like 4 other dudes, you're a band. And so it had to be people that can get along with each other. And that's probably the most challenging part with, professional musicians who are not in bands. That it's different. It's not when you're a band. It's like you've sort of sorted out all of the personality issues before you even are in making a record. And by the time you're out on the road and whatever, that's all kind of done. Whether it's healthy or unhealthy, that's a different story. But you've sorted it out. Putting together a band full of people that you don't know, and they may not know each other, and you've got to go learn songs and go out on tour soon. It's like you have to be very cautious and a good judge of how people are going to work with each other. I got really lucky. We just had a great time. Everyone gets along great. The show's been amazing.
Yeah. So with these guys, it was kind of like an instinctual thing. Like when you meet somebody, you kind of know whether or not you're gonna be able to see yourself down the road, having some sort of relationship with.
Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to go out with somebody who they're gonna have to replace and thinking of like hiring and firing and getting in. It's one thing to get like a new lighting guy when you're out on the road because your lighting guy's having a baby or something, or he quits to go do some other band. It's another thing completely when it's like a musician that's in your band. That was something I plan on touring a lot. I planned from the beginning. The criteria was like, look, I might be out on the road for 2 years, so if you're not ready for that, then you can go now. Fortunately, there are a lot of people that want to do that. more so than the bands I was in, because I had difficulty staying on the road for a long time in band situations. People always wanted to stop. And so I got that going, but it's also like that to be able to get along with each other. And this is all sort of natural chemistry. It's pretty easy, I think. I don't think it's that mysterious. You can tell. I get along with pretty much anybody, but I can tell the difference between, someone who's causing problems with a group and someone who isn't. It's not like if you watch reality TV, you're basically seeing a group of people put together so that they will clash. Mm-hmm. My job is to do the opposite of reality TV casting. Put a group of people together that are going to be harmonious and have a great time, and that sort of pushes the whole thing up.
So what is it, you said that, maybe you've had issues in the past with people that maybe in bands that haven't wanted to tour as much. What is it about touring that appeals so much to you?
I don't know. It's exciting. It's exciting to play night after night. Being able to play night after night and for months at a time, just in and of itself, for me, is the way that I've been able to improve as a singer, as a performer, as a songwriter even, being able to understand the communication of songs, all of that. And it's always been frustrating to me to get to a certain point where I feel like, I'm starting to really get a handle on this, and I feel like I can make strides, and then you've stopped. To me, music is something that's kind of a living, breathing thing, and it's what I do, and I like to do it all the time. I used to hate the traveling part of it, but now, I realized, I don't know how long ago, maybe 10 years ago or something like that, I realized that that actually is my life. That's what I know. So it's sort of the opposite now than it was when I was, say, 24, where I didn't like it. Now it's sort of, I get stir crazy if I sit still for too long.
Right.
And then the other thing, too, is coming to the realization that being able to travel around the world and go to remote places and play music is a privilege. It's not a requirement of my career. And that's the way it was sort of dealt with as Soundgarden. It was like, you got to go on tour to support your record. And our original bass player quitting, Hiro Yamamoto, was because he didn't want to leave home, period. He thought we would go on like a 2-week tour in support of our first A&M record, and that should be enough. And then even after Ben became the bass player, and we toured, it was something that we did felt as a band like a requirement, not like this is like we're lucky to be able to do this. And after a while, for me, I just started to see it from a different perspective. Playing Cuba was a great moment, and realizing, God, there's like all these people that know our songs, and they don't ever get to see bands. And there aren't that many places like Cuba, but there are places all over the world that I haven't, to this day, ever visited. And I can do it. So I want to do that.
Right.
It's important to me.
Right. And with a situation like Soundgarden, at least you kind of started out on a different end. You were starting out from basically nothing, and you were experiencing everything for the first time. But with Audioslave, it was kind of it was perhaps part of the friction maybe there. The fact that you felt like the band had to form some sort of road-tested, just road-tested and make sure that you are working on all cylinders and gel as a band, and maybe because the tours work fairly light compared to maybe how a lot of people tour, and I think maybe some people thought, well, they're all big, famous rock guys. They just want to go out and push the record a little bit and then go back home. And is that ultimately sort of one of the issues that fell the band?
No, actually, I don't think the touring really had anything to do with it at all. The first record we did the most touring basically because we wanted to go out and play everywhere that we could and not play anything except Audioslave Audioslave songs. We were actually doing covers. We're doing a White Stripes cover just because we refused to do anything else other than our own songs, and we could only play. We only had one record. But we did a fairly sizable tour. You know, we did a U.S. club tour, and then we went to Europe, and then we came back and did a normal U.S. tour, and then we went back and did Europe again, and then we did Lollapalooza, and we did that was for real. There was no joke. After that, after the second record, we didn't tour that long, and the idea was that we were going to quickly go in and record a handful of songs to round out a third record because we had so many extra songs from the second record that were already recorded that were great songs. And what happened, and this is kind of the beginning of the problem, is that we made the decision to do that, go record a handful more songs, have our third record out, and get back out on the road so that we take the cycle out of it. So that it's just we're a band that makes records, we're a band that tours, and we're doing both all the time. But then we didn't do that. We cut short the tour for Out of Exile, went back home, didn't do anything, and then wrote a bunch more songs and re-recorded everything, and really kind of took the momentum out of the whole experience of being Audioslave. And I think that's where the big mistake started. And in that, I did feel like it was a little bit like some of the members were into, well, let's relax and get into the cushy comfort that our lives have become. And I didn't like that. And I was flying back and forth from Europe, where I moved to work and be in this band and make stuff happen. And it was sort of becoming like I'd never made a record in Los Angeles before until Audioslave because they all lived here. So I had a little different attitude toward that. And you know, I'm not unhappy with it in terms of how the record turned out, because I think indeed the third record turned out better than it would have, because we worked with Brendan and we re-recorded the songs and we spent more time writing, and I think it's a great record. But just in terms of the band scenario and feeling like, okay, my hands are kind of tied. If I want to be out on the road, or I want to be songwriting, and this guy and that guy don't, then I can't. And I think that was part of the realization for me, is that I don't want to be in a situation where I can't do music when I want to. There's no reason really good enough for that for me, because the reality of it for me is that I can make records without those other people. And it's just different records. It's different kinds of music, but there's lots of different kinds of music, and I like a lot of different stuff. So I'm good. And so in that way, it's like that's sort of nobody's fault. Everybody did a lot to make that a great band and make great records, and I'm proud of it. And you know, I'm just doing something different now. Yeah.
Now, you were saying something about...
Okay, so we just have time for one more question, okay?
Okay.
Thanks.
Sorry. You know, with regard to the new album, you do have a lot of different sounds on that. And what kind of things were you going for, and do you feel you accomplished everything you wanted to with this album?
I did a lot of... I mean, the main accomplishment of this record, which is huge for me, is the experience of writing it. Because I, for years, have written alone, and for years was writing alone for Soundgarden records and demoing songs in my basement or in a warehouse or wherever I was where I could record in our rehearsal space. And it was kind of sort of dark experience usually, and a lot of work, you know, inside of rooms with no windows. And, you know, sometimes it yielded like really great stuff, and sometimes it didn't. And ultimately, the process wasn't as great as the outcome. And the outcome was kind of the focus. And on this record, I really felt like the process was the most important thing. And then day to day, every day I woke up to go work on another song, it was just really exciting, and I was really thrilled to do it, and I was really happy every day doing it. It was just like the most exciting thing I could think of. I also didn't go somewhere to do it. I just stayed at home with my kids, and I was in a little Porta studio in my house. And when I would take a break, family, and I wasn't sure, if that was possible. Can I really write songs like that without total isolation? And it ended up being sort of the opposite that one might think, and that it helped me focus somehow. Because I didn't feel like I had to leave to go write, and I didn't feel like I had to come home when I was done. I was already there.
Right.
And that was huge because I felt like, because it's so natural now, and I'm enjoying every day, now I'm feeling like the next record's going to be just as much fun. And I'm not looking at it, again, in cycles anymore. I'm looking at it as, look what I get to do. This is so great. Now I get to go out on the road. That's so great. Now I get to go play all these shows. Now I get to go to Iceland for the first time. Now I get to go to Brazil for the first time. Now I get to write more songs. And to me, I've always been a little bit embarrassed by the attitude that particularly people from my generation have had about the idea that being recording artists and touring and playing concerts is somehow like a punk rock guilt thing. That there's something wrong with it, or that it's a hassle.
Yeah.
Because it's not a hassle, it's a privilege. I used to clean up fish guts with my hands for a living.
Yeah.
I have a job like 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Now I get to do this. And I don't like that feeling. And that's a feeling that comes up in bands a lot, where like a group of dudes will sort of get self-conscious about a lot of different things. And they'll also complain. Nobody complains more than like guys in successful rock bands. Certainly more, I'm sure, than guys in unsuccessful ones. And that bothered me.
Yeah.
I always felt like a little bit like a stooge because of that. I don't, as corny as it may sound, I don't want to live my life like I'm doing everybody favors, because I know what the reality is. I'm not an idiot. I'm lucky to be able to do this.
Right.
I want to live each day in that thought and feeling, not in like some negative aspect of, shit, I got to go leave my great hobby so that I can go in a room and write songs for my job to pay the bills. And unfortunately, that comes up in bands.
Yeah.
Especially bands where there's been success.
Yeah. Well, I'm from the same generation, basically, and I see that in people, other music fans, too, in terms of, a lot of people don't know how to deal now with, like, your generation of bands that are now older,
right,
and are successful, and now are trying to find their own way in a new voice.
Yeah.
And then there's a whole new younger generation now, which I've got a 16-year-old son, so I'm seeing it firsthand. That's kind of completely different perspective on things too, and it's just you definitely, I can see where you feel like you may get a lot of flack, because it's like it oftentimes will come from the fans too. So, well, Chris, I appreciate you taking your time, and
thank you.
And good luck with the tour and the album, and hope to see you when you come through. I'm out in Chicago, so I hope to come and check you out.
Great, thank you.
All right, bye.
Thanks, Chris.
All right, bye.